Want to get now to General Jack Keane, if we can, and I want to begin with Afghanistan purely because that's what we're going to hear. That's what we're going to hear about with President Trump tonight, General. What are you hoping to hear from President Trump with regard to the ongoing, long-lasting war in Afghanistan?
Well, one of the reasons why we're 16 years at war with no definable outcome is the fact that two presidents have never made the political and moral commitment to an enduring victory by providing the required resources. So, number one, I think if the president is going to commit to this, he has to put his political capital on the line. He has to convince the American people that this is in our national interest. That's clearly job one. Number two, what's the strategy going forward? This is much more than just more troops. How are we really going to deal with the realities that are taking place in Afghanistan? The fact that Pakistan is supporting the Afghan Taliban has always been a problem for us. And then finally, what are the resources that he believes are necessary to turn this around?
I mean, is there an end to this, General? I mean, at what point do we say, okay, you know, I know we train and work with the local Afghan forces. I mean, at some point, do you just say, okay, we've come as far as we can, and as soon as we leave, the Taliban moves in and takes over again?
Well, if that's what we want, then let's throw the towel in and walk away. I mean, it's easy to do.
But what I'm saying is, do we need a permanent presence there?
Well, I think he's going to, he clearly will not put an end state on it, because I don't think we have one. And we have to make that commitment. We've never been willing to truly make that kind of a commitment. Insurgencies are overwhelmingly defeated by host country governments. That is the nature of this kind of war, because the insurgents usually run out of resources faster than the government does. There's always legitimate grievances against the government, or else there wouldn't be an insurgency. But in this case, we have a national interest because the international terrorists will fall in on Afghanistan, threaten Europe, and threaten ourselves. I think that really is the issue the president's facing.
Next one for you, General, and this is an ongoing issue. The Navy's top officer is ordering an investigation into the performance of America's Pacific-based 7th Fleet. This comes, of course, after the U.S.S. John S. McCain collided with a tanker near Singapore. That's the second collision involving a Navy ship in just the last 2 months. General, why do these kinds of incidents keep happening? What's going on?
Well, first of all, they should not happen. Given the technology that's on board these ships, there is absolutely no excuse for two ships coming together, regardless of what may be reckless behavior on the part of another ship. We have the technology to avoid collision. So what is happening here? Likely some kind of human dimension is at play here, and the Chief of Naval Operations, translation, the head of the Navy, he's doing an overall study to try to get at it. I do know this, and I have my suspicions. We have an increase in aviation accidents, and most of us believe because we're not giving our pilots the required number of flying hours to stay proficient. There may be something that's going on inside the Navy in terms of deployments are longer than they normally are, and they may not be as prepared as they have been in the past. I'm only speculating, but there's something that's happening here that clearly is not right.
Yeah, and Colonel Ralph Peters earlier said exactly the same thing, General, saying he believes the training from the naval side may not be adequate.
Yeah, and see, we've cut so much back on our resources, actually, and that really is the issue. All training days cost money. Flying hours cost money, and the services have had to cut back on it, not just a little bit, but quite dramatically so. And every one of them has complained to the Congress about the lack of readiness in all four services.
Yeah, very disturbing. General Jack Keane, as always, great information. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good talking to you, Ashley.
All right.